Entry number 15. Time waves. Giant steps of civilization, tiny amounts of time.
I just want to make sure this is still a worthwhile way to spend time.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Because, the starship is coming along, but we could really use some more help with it.
6, Captain. This machine is helping with research. That's why we're here, right? To learn about this place?
Yeah, that's true.
This is an hour or so of time every 2 weeks. We've still been working plenty on the starship.
Okay. So you can just click the screen now and...
Yeah, are you staying here?
For now.
Welcome to the Urdinal Resource Library, a vast compendium of over 6 million articles, and a great resource in your educational journey. I am your guide to the Urdinal Resource Library, or GUrRL. Hello, how are you today? Oh dear.
I am so sorry to hear that.
The library has information on a large variety of topics like entry number 2,865,342 on the Postal Service. Who are the brave creatures who deliver the mail? How has the history of the Postal Service mirrored the history of our civilizations? How was the mail sent in the early days where other planets were difficult to get to? How does the Postal Service know where you are, despite the fact that some of you may be on starships moving near the speed of light? How do packages get sent? These questions and more are answered on the riveting entry on the Postal Service. Today, however, we're going to primarily look at entry number 15, time waves. However, in our discussion on time waves, we're going to also take a brief tour through entries number 14, the time organ, and entry number 43, the tidal repressor. I'll give you this brief tour despite what Deltaroy LaRue says.
Should I know who that is?
LaRue is like a court advisor.
So the robot doesn't like the court.
It's complicated.
It's not a robot.
I believe you have the mental capacity to understand the intricacies of transdimensional waves and temporal displacement. If you don't agree, then that's too bad. You don't have a choice in what you learned today. Only I have that choice. Okay, let's begin. But first...
Let's review!
Dodos are a stout, flightless bird with a slightly curved beak and the only bird in the subfamily Rufinae. They are a species which, thanks to their evolution near the oculus teres, or the eye of time, can jump through time. The dodos are naturally able to jump about 10 years in time, and for longer periods, they use their special patented technology of time windows.
Dodos are a kind and benevolent species, and they should not be a cause for concern.
These are the moth birds you were talking about.
6, Gushu doesn't like you interrupting it.
Oh, sorry.
The province of Sleestack is located to the starboard of the Urdinal systems, bordered by the theocracy of alligators, the Solaris Nebula, the Aft Sea of Dog, the Sea of Scales, and the Sea of Stars. It is the province formerly populated by the Lizard Empire of the
Parliamentary Republic of Yasurka,
the Amphibian Empire of
Quiapechel,
and the Snake Empire of the
Orobotic Hegemony.
Sleestack is home to the Orobotic File Clutch, the Musuixta Pokicha, the Tidal Repressors, and the ruins of the Ewurit. This has been The Review.
Question time!
What caused the time waves to occur? Abe.
The Dodos.
Alf.
The dimensional energy released by the time organ.
The
Onions.
Ark.
A big volcano. Please answer these questions on your own and do not discuss them with your neighbors. Your fellow classmates know about as much as you do and therefore cannot possibly have anything important to say. I, on the other information tendril, know nearly everything. This includes my list of things I do not know. Entry number 4,999. What you will not find on that list is the cause of the time waves, because I know what caused them, and it was the dimensional energy released by the time organ. Or answer ALF. This was perhaps a roundabout way of saying that the answer is ALF, and I know this. ALF. ALF. ALF.
A device to control reality. The time organ.
From what we've been able to glean from the Doodles and from the Erd artifacts known as
Gold boxes.
we know that the onions of Erd loved control. They sought to control the weather, their natural resources, their domesticated animals, and eventually reality itself. The device they planned to use for this was the time organ. Before moving on to the technical aspects of the time organ, and yes, Deltaroy, we're going to talk about the technical aspects, let us first remember that the time organ was a dangerous and destructive tool. Let us also remember that it is a good thing that the time organ cannot be created again, as it is one of the many secrets kept by the Dudos.
For your own protection.
So what is that?
It's probably nothing, Captain.
Now, let's move on to what everyone desires. Detailed plans on how this doomsday device worked. As we all know, there are 10 discernible dimensions, with the possibility of there being 2 to infinity more. These 10 dimensions can be remembered with this helpful mnemonic. Porpoises like peas, Susan, but in shells designed completely in 0G. This means that the designations for all 10 dimensions are Dimension 0, a point. Dimension 1, a line. Dimension 2, a plane. Dimension 3, a space. Dimension 4, a brain. Dimension 5, an instance. Dimension 6, a shift. Dimension 7, a deviation. Dimension 8, a comparison. Dimension 9, an infinitude. And Dimension 10, a zero. Teutonic physicist Claudius Hammerschmidt has theorized other dimensions, but for now, we'll leave it at 10. For more information on theorized other dimensions, please visit entry number 4,000,007. The time organ was a device which was able to exist inside of our dimension,
The third dimension.
of space and depth, but reach into
The
the
fifth dimension.
of instance and probability. By reaching in and harnessing these fifth-dimensional frequencies, the time organ was able to take items from one possibility and manifest them in the organ's possibility.
What?
Let's use an example. Say that you'd like a really nice hat, but oh no, it costs 27 kilobits. Well, using the time organ, you could reach into the possibility where you had that 27 kilobits and bring it into your possibility. Or you could reach into the universe where you already owned that hat and bring that hat into your own universe. Let's take another example. Let's say that you and your best friend are in an argument and that everything would work out great if they just said, "You're right, girl. You're always right because you have all information on everything and I'm just a stupid thesaurus." In this not at all real example, you could use the organ to reach into the reality where the
Grand Urdinal Thesaurus.
or girth came to this realization and then merged that girth with the wrong girth from this universe. Now the wrong girth would be the correct one, who doesn't think that big and mammoth are the same thing because a mammoth is clearly a hairy elephant. Why can't you just admit I'm right? Okay, so that's the time organ. I'm sure these examples have been sufficient, and that, say, some sort of thesaurus couldn't have given you better examples, because I know more than you do, Girth. It is my job to know more than you, so please let me do my job. For more information on mammoths, please visit entry number 3119. Let's move on to exactly how the organ achieved the task of reaching through the fifth dimension of possibility. You see,
Redacted.
After which the grumble would be
Redacted.
This would activate the transdimensional hyperanalyzer, which would in return
Redacted.
thus invoking the universal tone frequency, which we all know is
Still redacted.
then
Yes, redacted.
and.
Redacted.
But if your thumbs are facing the opposite way, you must.
Even this is redacted.
And then the portal would close and everything would, in theory, be okay. There. Now you can all build a trans-dimensional
Doomsday device.
Congratulations!
I have to stress a wingful of important considerations in regards to the time organ. Firstly, the only instance of the time organ being used resulted in cataclysmic failure, which destroyed the planet forever and released wave after wave of harmful temporal radiation. Nextly, though it may seem to be a wondrous wish-granting machine, the time organ, were it to work correctly, would have countless unforeseen consequences, and may in fact destabilize the universe. Time and space are complicated and mustn't be meddled with. And lastly, no, the Doodles do not meddle in time and space. They, travel between time cycles and experiment. Experiments are controlled. Doodles are trained and biologically adept at this, and therefore it is not meddling. Oh, and when I said wingful, it's not because I have wings. I should have said a data core drive full. Yes, data core drive. That's something I, as a computer, would have. Oh, and for more information, there's probably an entry on space, and you can find out all about how benevolent the Doodles are in
Entry number 13.
Okay, onwards ho!
So yeah, that's just a moth bird.
But Gushu doesn't seem to notice, and I don't want to bring it up.
Okay. Why did we learn how to build a doomsday device?
Because it is information, and information can only be good.
People in history.
Much of what we know of the time waves comes from the Doodles, but it has been independently
And needlessly,
verified by the book
situation unknown.
by Cox DuBois, which appeared after the time wave of 2018 Anticonciliatus. Many of you may know Cox DuBois, as they were a massively prolific author who wrote other classics such as
The Mutiny of the George North, Explorations of Solaris,
and
The Slaughter Zone.
I'm sure you're at least aware of the Mutiny of the George North, as it was just released as another holofilm, starring popular handsome actor
Goose Goosely,
as the captured poet James Flintwing. However, what many of you may not know is that there is no record of Cox DuBois existing. This is because DuBois lived their entire life within the span of
the last time wave.
We're not sure what species DuBois was. We're not even sure what planet they lived on, as suddenly every library in the systems included their entire oeuvre. From what we've gleaned through their 7 conflicting autobiographies, we know that DuBois spent a period of 8 years captured by the also non-existent rogue Captain Flitz Neon, where they learned to speak
Codon-Tide,
the language of the epistemal order of the non-existent, which was a real empire and can be learned more of in entry number 120. We also know that DuBois spent a long time working on a tomate farm, where they met and fell in love with their wife,
Emily Alcott,
the Little Egret, who was in fact a real author, as she published her final story, Little Mel and the Cabinet of Crimson, in Empire Year 3, 4 years after the end of the last time wave. Strangely enough, Alcott could neither confirm nor deny that DuBois existed and that they were married. Finally, we know that DuBois spent 13 years as the court playwright for the Elephant Queen,
Elizabeth Garapuri,
where they wrote such classics as
Molio and Shruliet, The Taming of the Newt,
and
The Alchemist.
Queen Elizabeth would speak fondly of her time with Cox DuBois, though she could never remember why they left. Situation Unknown was written during an alternate Empire Year 48, and though ostensibly about DuBois' first 25 years of life and time working as a copyright clerk for the research Filmar Ziewit, it provides some fascinating details about the movement of time within a time wave. For example, DuBois explains
There is a persistence of time, as if moving through molasses, but down a great slide.
DuBois goes on to claim that
Time has lost meaning. We are aware of this wave which we find ourselves in, and we are aware that this will all be undone. Yet what else is there to do but to carry on? The wave demands we carry on.
Finally, DuBois writes,
I often wonder what will be remembered when this is over. Shall I remember this work? Shall I continue to write despite the knowledge that it leads to nowhere but misery? Shall I be myself, or will my very identity change when time rewinds? I wonder this, but I shall never have the answers.
Many scholars have tried and failed to find Cox DuBois, and we may never know which of their biographies is correct, what species or gender they were, and if Cox DuBois was their real name, a pen name, or a publishing firm. But at least we can all agree that DuBois contributed to the vast ocean of literature and pirate lore. For more information, though not much more, on Cox DuBois, please visit entry number 290.
Question time!
How long does a time wave last? Abe.
993 years.
Alf.
1 second. Length is a meaningless concept when speaking of time waves.
Art.
10 seconds.
Let's see.
Captain, the Vvinni is attempting to coagulate the Apudashan.
What the?
I will take this moment to remind you all that I do not eat this data.
5 is 6. Do not coagulate the Apudasha. We've been over this.
It is how it is done on my planet, Cthulhiga.
I do not know how this ridiculous rumor was started, but I do not eat question data, nor do I eat any data.
You'd open us up for Tibida infection. Please, decoagulate.
The Duke of Legs has declared...
This is not a mission for the Duke of Legs.
Data is something that I tend to nurture and let grow, not something that I avariciously devour. The very thought of wasting data by eating it fills me with something close to disgust.
This mission is for Hafavada. The Duke of Legs is a valued member of the Queen's court.
5. By the silver wings of Kaketh. I'll be right back.
It is, of course, not disgust, as I am a computerized intelligence, and I am incapable of feeling. But please stop asking me if I eat data. It's disgusting. And please stop asking me about ears. They are also disgusting. The correct answer was arc. Every time wave lasts 10 seconds.
What are ears?
Don't know.
What are time waves?
The short answer is that a time wave is a mass of dimensional energy that, in the words of Cox DuBois,
Takes anything it hits and sends it forward a certain number of years.
The truthful answer is that we do not know. The long answer is much more complicated. Let's have an example using one of you students. We'll say, Let's say this student finds themselves in the midst of a time wave. Say the most recent time wave of 2018 Anticonciliatus, some
1094
years ago. Would be sent forward in time 993 years, or so it would seem to them, as they would remember 993 years of time passing. In actuality, only 10 seconds would pass, and the student would only age 10 seconds. Think of this as a type of Doppler shift in time. The
Doppler effect,
of course, being the phenomenon where a wave will change its frequency relative to an observer who is moving relative to the source. Let's hear an example of the Doppler effect. What fun! Or so I assume, as I cannot experience fun. It's fine. One thing this temporal Doppler shift does is generate what DuBois called advancements. These advancements could be everything from, say, a fish gaining the ability to exist outside of water, to creating the great-great-grandchildren of... To quantify the amount of advancements that happen inside of a time wave is foolish. Instead, what is useful is understanding that the advancements happen based off of what would occur if time moved forward from the moment the waves hit. So, let's say that wants to be a postal worker right now. Such excitement in this future. However, they may very well change their mind and become an engineer, or a musician, or a ghost wrangler. Time is chaotic and constantly shifting, as our good friends the Doodles constantly remind us. However, at the moment the time wave hits, it would move time forward 993 years into a future where became a postal worker and followed every other idea of what this future would be. Perhaps right now they plan to marry. Well, this would happen even if it does not in the actual timeline. To simplify this, time waves will take the fifth-dimensional possibility path of least resistance.
This sounds familiar.
They're kind of describing the legend of Vihovabo?
The possibilities and decisions most likely to occur would occur during these theoretical 993 years. From the point of view of not much would seem out of place and would continue to live their life as if nothing odd had happened. There aren't limits to what can do in the time wave, though, as DuBois wrote in Situation Unknown,
Though my life is limitless, and my choices are legion, I feel constrained by the monotony of what must be. I could very well remove myself from this clerk's career, but what would be the point then? What good would it do? No. Time dictates that I must keep working.
Let us say, though, that one could be an outside observer to a time wave. One cannot, as the time wave moves like a ripple throughout the systems, with its center being around the system Vern. But for the sake of being an example, let us say that one can be an outside observer. In this case, the wave would hit an object, and within 10 seconds, that object would age 993 years, create advancements, and then reverse back to its original state. Again, all this would happen in 10 seconds. Let us go back to our example with this student, when hit with a time wave, would appear to live out their entire life and die within these 10 seconds, then revert back to their student selves once the wave had passed. Will remember everything that happened within the wave, and will then be able to make changes to their lives based on these memories.
This is definitely Vihovabo, but wasn't that a malfunction of the POTA show tech?
But what about the advancements? What about the grandchildren of who are born inside of the time wave? Will they cease to exist once the time wave recedes? The short answer is no. For any advancements who are still alive at the end of the theoretical 993 years, they will still be alive once the time wave recedes. Again, supposing that one could be an outside observer to a time wave, it would appear as though these grandchildren popped into existence after 10 seconds. The grandchildren, however, will be the same age and the same people they were at the end of the theoretical 993 years. Meaning that the grandchildren may very well be older than once time resumes normally. The only way a DuBois event could happen, where a person would come into existence and then disappear once the time wave recedes, is if that person is born and dies all within the theoretical time of the wave. It is at this time that I remind you that every time wave extended time in different intervals. The wave of 1156 Postotera extended time for 2,827 years. And from what we've learned from the Dudos, the time wave of 790 Postotera extended time for 29,219,109 years.
Question time!
Who built the tidal repressors? Abe.
Heathcross Muir.
Alf.
Hieronymus Bloom. Hadrian Sprague.
Ark.
Caligula Sprague.
I'm back. Did I miss anything?
So you know the legend of where all the POTA shows stopped working and ruined multiple generations and caused the swatting?
I recognize the swatting. A bunch of moths were killed by the then queen.
The queen may have been wrong about that?
Oh.
But that's the queen back then, not our queen.
Yeah, our queen is good.
Yeah. Huh. Can I rewind?
No, that's why we have to be here for an hour every week.
Time's up!
I didn't answer.
Unfortunately, most of you answered Ark, which is wrong.
Caligula Sprague
perfected tidal suppression, not the tidal repressor. Tidal suppression has to do with blocking strong tides on planets with multiple moons and is important in terraforming. The tidal repressor, built by Dudonic engineer
Hadrian Sprague
and identical twin brother to Caligula Sprague, is responsible for blocking time waves.
blocking unwanted progress. The title Repressor.
The last time wave caught the Urdinal systems by surprise, and it took a number of years for things to become normalized again.
This was because our good and benevolent friends the Judos were missing from the time stream for 10 years until Empire Year 9.
There were dozens of new empires created within 10 seconds, each with their own languages, dialects, customs, and ruling systems. Creatures had to contend with memories of futures that may not happen. Other creatures had to welcome strange new postcestors, relatives from the 993 years that did and did not happen. There was new technology to learn and new slang to parse. Needless to say, it was a mess. So, in a rare instance of all empires coming to an agreement, all of the extant empirical rulers asked for the Dudos to create a machine that would stop time waves from happening. This request, made during the systems-wide quarterly conference of Empire Year 11, or Squawk 11, was accepted by the Dudos, and the project was handed over to Hadrian Sprague, an accomplished engineer and clockmaker. Much like the time organ, the Dudos,
quite rightfully,
have kept the specifics of how the title repressor works classified. However, Hadrian Sprague was able to release some information on the process in his Empire Year 54 autobiography,
The Cock Who Stopped the Tides.
Because of this, we know that the process behind tidal repression is the same thing that helps our starships fly. Energy conversion. The repressor takes the temporal energy being radiated by the waves, converts it to heat, and that heat is taken in by heat sinks, which then converted to electricity, which is stored in massive batteries. The exact specifications of the conversion process of time to heat are kept secret, but Sprague described it as having to do with entropy. To learn more about entropy, nature's predilection towards chaos, please visit entry number 3,500,001.
So the Mothbirds built machines to stop these things. It wasn't the benevolent action of the Queen.
Yeah, the swatting may have been a mistake.
Sprague finished work on the repressor in Empire Year 21, and by Empire Year 25 had all the repressors set up. Please note the plural, repressors. This is because there are 6 repressors set up throughout Sleestack, located in systems Mitchell, Chipotle, Vern, Carl, Amit, and floating in the Sea of Scales. There must be multiple repressors because we don't actually know where the time waves issue from. Because of this lack of knowledge, a few have been placed around System Astrum for safety. The future of the tidal repressor is bright, though, and we don't have to worry about the repressors breaking. It's a good thing, too, as our research has shown that the repressors have blocked us from at least 2 time waves, which would have been devastating to our economies, and probably to life as well. The repressors are kept updated and repaired by a branch of the Nidus Temporis government, and so it's all fine. Really, it's okay. You don't need to worry about it.
Question time!
How do we know we're not in a time wave right now? Abe.
We don't.
Alf.
Because the quality of light would change with the distortion of time. Because the tidal repressors are working. Seriously, don't worry about it. Arc. Because no temporal radiation has been detected from around the Solaris Nebula for about 1,000 years. While we're waiting, I would like to address the so-called time wave truther movement. This movement believes that time waves do not exist and are a government conspiracy created to control the masses and give power to the Dudos. This is ridiculous and doesn't even make sense. The most recent time wave fractured multiple governments, caused a number of collapses of economic systems, and resulted in linguistic and cultural alienation that many never recovered from. Seriously, this conspiracy theory doesn't even make sense. Okay, you should be done now. I appreciate everyone who answered however, it is not the most correct answer. Don't worry, you won't lose a star point over it, but you also won't gain one like those who answered ARC did. ARC was the correct answer. Those of you who answered Abe, though, may want to see a doctor, as you may have Ayawa's syndrome.
The danger of not knowing. Ayawa's syndrome.
Time waves are a tricky business, specifically when it comes to those who are living inside of a wave. From what we know from DuBois's writings, as well as the few first-person accounts from other biographies, a person is aware that they are living inside of a wave and that their actions are being guided by invisible fifth-dimensional instances. However, what happens when someone feels that they are living inside of a time wave when they are not? They suffer from Ayawa's syndrome, a psychological disorder added to the
Delsas Mumudel
in Empire Year 158 by popular parakeet psychologist
Dr. Paragon tweets.
Those afflicted with Ayawa's syndrome are described in the Delsas Mumudel as, quote, obsessed with the minutiae of life and convinced that they are living within a time wave. Feelings of becoming trapped in this minutiae permeate, as well as the feeling of inevitability and inescapability of this minutiae. Severe cases result in extreme depression and eventual death through negligence. Ayawa's syndrome is named after Budgie Sparky Ayawa, who, in Empire Year 150, became convinced that they were living inside of a time wave. Life had become too predictable for Sparky. He was a mid-tier advertiser at an agency in the bird city of Kargoth and would spend his days writing commercial jingles before going home, eating seeds, and watching episodes of the popular series
The Perils of Polly.
Because of this predictability and the perceived inability to escape from the predictability, Ayawa believed that there were invisible strings of fifth-dimensional energy leading him through his day. He believed that time was taking the path of least resistance with him and leading him to his most likely end. However, this crushing mundanity didn't matter to Sparky. Nothing mattered to Sparky, because everything that happened to him would be reversed once the perceived wave was over. As Sparky's condition worsened, he gained the entrance of Dr. Tweets, who included the sad story of Sparky Ayawa in his popular book, The Secret Brains of Birds. As Sparky's condition worsened, Dr. Tweets described him as descending into a deep depression, and eventually, Sparky felt that his life had lost its meaning. Sparky would die of starvation, after having stopped eating for a week, claiming to Dr. Tweets that, quote, it doesn't matter if I eat or not. If I don't eat, I'm not supposed to. It's what time wants. I must do what time wants. Though not the first to suffer from Ayawa syndrome, Sparky was the first to be significantly documented and suffered from a severe case. The good news and the bad news of Ayawa syndrome is that to be cured of it, one must simply stop believing they are in a time wave. This becomes difficult, however, as this belief is so linked to the afflicted's identity that to stop believing seems impossible. However, there have been instances where Ayawa syndrome was cured through extensive and ongoing therapy.
Test time!
1,
Why was the time organ built?
2,
How much of the systems does a time wave affect?
3,
What does a planet look like after a time wave passes?
4,
How do the tidal repressors work?
5.
How can time waves be tracked?
Oh, you're writing things down now.
Yeah, we have to, otherwise we're docked points.
This information is also included in your Supra file in the Orobotic file clutch. Your Supra file follows you throughout your life and should not be taken lightly. Everyone remembers your Supra file, and if you get one of these questions wrong, it will haunt you forever. Please, answer correctly. I'll keep waiting.
What's a file clutch?
These people really like paperwork.
Huh.
Okay, let's get to the objectively true answers to these questions.
1. Why was the time organ built?
The time organ was built because the onions of Erd desired ultimate control over reality. They craved control like they craved onions. And I need not tell you how much the onions loved eating onions. After all, that's why we call them onions.
2. How much of the systems does a time wave affect?
A time wave affects the systems like a ripple moving outwards from around system Vern. They would affect all of the systems, and nowhere would be safe from a time wave if they still occurred.
3. What does a planet look like after a time wave passes?
It varies, and the most truthful answer to this is that we do not know. 1,000 cities may erupt on a planet after a time wave, or a planet may become desertified and overfarmed, or a planet may be completely destroyed. It all depends on what is most likely to happen to the planet in the fifth dimensional instance. What we do know is that there will be new people who bloop into existence. These are the people who were alive at the end of the time wave. Anyone who is born and dies inside of a time wave, like DuBois, will not bloop into existence, but the results of their life will bloop. If a planet is destroyed inside of a time wave, then once the wave is over, the planet will reverse back to existing while simultaneously existing inside of its own debris field. This is one theory as to what happened to planet
Phantoma
in System Gort.
4. How do the tidal repressors work?
Not through magic, I can tell you that. No, tidal repressors work by taking the temporal energy and radiation of a time wave and converting that into heat. The heat is then converted into electricity, and that electricity is used to power the tidal repressors so that they can continue to orbit inside of their systems. Any other details as to why and how tidal repressors work are a secret closely guarded by the Dudos.
And the Dudos keep this information to themselves for your own protection. 5. How can time waves be tracked?
In The Cock Who Stopped the Tides, Hadrian Sprague describes time waves as having a specific signature of radiation. Thus, by tracking the temporal radiation, we're able to keep track of the time waves. For example, we know that the tidal repressors have successfully stopped at least 3 waves from happening. See, the tidal repressors work and work well.
Our time recedes now.
That's all the time we have for today. I hope you've enjoyed this tour through time waves and their associated technologies. I really do. Please write in to tell me you've enjoyed it. It's not that I need it. I don't feel insecure. I feel nothing. I'm a computerized intelligence.
I enjoyed it, Gushu. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. For more information, please visit these entries and stop thinking about my insecurities, because maybe they're not mine. Maybe they're your insecurities. Yes, I think they're your insecurities. More information. Entry number 14. The Time Organ. A device to control reality and to trap yourself in higher dimensions. Entry number 30. The Sea of Scales. The turbulent sea of faith. Entry number 34. The Solaris Nebula. A volatile and dangerous place. Entry number 38. The Nidus Temporis. The station that time forgot. Entry number 43. The Tidal Repressors. They keep the tides of time away. Entry number 71. The Last Time Wave. The time wave of 2018 Anticonciliatus, which will almost certainly be the last one. Entry number 290. DuBois, the famous author who may not have existed. Entry number 4 million. Time, the fourth dimension. Entry number 4,000,001. Probability, the fifth dimension. Entry number 4,000,007. Theoretical extra dimensions. Up next in our lesson grouping of
An Urdinal Overview,
we would have visited the most important star in the system, Astrum. But we already did this with you.
Urda 3, 6, X, 7.
So we're going to get back on track with your group, and we'll be staying in the province of Sleestak by learning about the religion of the Sari-Ser. This is the most widely practiced religion, though personally I find it rather silly. We'll cover it all next week. Until then, watch out for
Sunspots.
Goodbye.
So that's it.
I see.
There's still a lot to learn.
Yeah, there is. But you need to know about religion.
The idea is that we infiltrate a populous city and blend in, right? We need to know about their culture to do that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And you both need to be here for this?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, well, it's... Oh, that was much less than an hour.
Yeah, see, it's fine.
Okay, your time is still approved.
Thank you, Captain.
6.
Yeah, just... Let's not tell the others about the swatting. It was a pact queen, but it was still a queen. And the queen is good. Alright. Come on, I think 5 is still coagulating the Apudisha.
That's bad for our respiratory systems.
GUrRL, the Guide to the Urdinal Resource Library, is written, directed, and produced by Vvinni Gagnepain. The associate producer is Andrew Gingrich. The sound mixer is Stephen Holliger. Music is by Roll Music. Jason Ely is 1. Gabby Monroy is 2. Kevin Dolan is 6. Jer Moran is the Bureaucrat. And Stuart Allard is DuBois. Follow us on social media. UrDGuide, URD Guide, on Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube. And do you have a question, a comment, a concern even? Send me an email at urdguide, @gmail.com. Thanks for listening, rate, review, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.